From the high desert southwest and an indiscreet shave den located in the deep recesses of Ouch's basement, broadcasting north from McMurdo Sound to Ice Station Zebra and east and west across all time zones to our members throughout the world, this is Badger and Blade Radio. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be on this big, beautiful planet we call home, and welcome to Badger and Blade Radio. Coming up on deck for today's show, we have news and events around BadgerandBlade.com, our ever-popular mail call segment, including our new poll on brushes. We'll have some bloopers that have been asked for that we have done over the year or so. We'll also have our vendor spotlight interview with Bob Quinn from Elite Razors by Bob Quinn, and then we'll also have a Sue Mohr recap of how we did for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. All this and a little bit more when we get back right after the break. Above the Tie Grooming and More, an internet retailer based in Tennessee, brings you a unique offering in the traditional shaving world. Stainless steel and aluminum artisan-made razors that will last a lifetime, proudly manufactured right here in the USA. Bulletproof construction and almost perfect engineering tolerances ensure any razor you purchase from Above the Tie Grooming and More will provide the right shave and the best shave each and every day. The Atlas, Kronos, Colossus, and Bamboo are the backbone of a line of razors that offer limitless variety of customization. Single edge, gem style, double edge safety bar, and open comb all can be ordered, offering a truly customizable experience, including the ability to order just the shave heads, bases, and handles of your choice. Can't decide? Then take advantage of one of the 7-piece and 5-piece complete razor systems to take the level of customization even further to suit your specific needs. Like the lightweight of aluminum? Then try the Calypso or the Bamboo, offering colored, anodized parts to suit your tastes. Again, all Above the Tie Grooming and More razors are made right here by dedicated artisans in the USA, from either 303 solid stainless steel or aircraft grade 7075 aluminum to ensure the utmost in quality. Need more? Above the Tie Grooming offers a complete line of Mohr razors for the budget conscious, as well as shaving accessories from the various manufacturers and artisans, including blades, soaps, aftershaves, travel cases, and more. So, for that one-of-a-kind razor system, including an unmatched customer service razor guarantee, your razor from Above the Tie Grooming and More is sure to become a family heirloom. And for all of your shaving needs, visit Above the Tie Grooming and More at www.abovethetie.com. Please remember, we're offering free shipping on all orders over $75. That's www.abovethetie.com. Welcome back to B&B Radio, everybody. We certainly appreciate you spending time with us today. And we're going to go ahead and start off the show with our vendor spotlight interview with Bob Quinn from Elite Razor. Bob, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved and started in brush, pen, and razor handle making.
Well, thanks so much, Dave. I appreciate you taking the time and having the opportunity to speak with you today. Also, that today is Veterans Day, I did want to take this opportunity to thank all the men and women who have served and are currently serving for their service to our country. I appreciate all of you guys. I got started making these brushes, pens, and razor handles about 15 years ago. And I started, as most do in turning, making pens, and graduated into shaving brushes, which allowed me to turn on a different plane. One thing led to another, and I was asked by a gentleman who purchased a brush from me to make a custom razor handle for a Merkur 34C. Having never done it before, I allowed testosterone to take over and told him, certainly I can do that for you. And after a couple of Merkurs gave their little Merkur lives in experimentation, I finally determined how to effectively take it apart, put it back together with a new handle on it. One thing led to another, and I started making razor handles to accompany my brushes. The next step in that was making full sets, where a stand with the matching center post to the brush and the razor handle.
You know, it's interesting when you look at that, because the one thing I noticed, and I think the one thing that stands out in your work, is that when you look at your product offerings, they're very unique, from the use of bird feather, snakeskin, rock, woods, and resins. What draws you to these unique materials?
I probably spent an inordinate amount of time looking for something that I've never seen before. And that's what led me to the differing types of materials. I came across a gentleman who is a feather artist. Had never met a feather artist before, but he's the gentleman who makes the blanks that comprise the feather handles. And they're actual bird feathers that are set individually around a brass tube and then cast in clear resin.
Wow.
One of the most unique pieces that I've ever found. He also makes the snake skin, the different types of stone. There are very few people who are working in stone, and I just love the feel, the weight, the whole presentation of the stone, the way it looks. Resins give you a tremendous amount of flexibility as far as colors, to do things a little bit differently. But far and away, probably the favorite material of mine is wood. Wood, by its nature, has a history. And most of the custom pieces that I've done have been made out of wood that somebody had a tree growing in their yard, or somebody has a spindle from a rocker that was grandma's, and can you make a razor handle for me? And those are the pieces that ultimately really speak to me. But I've always loved the opportunity to be able to work in different types of materials, and as I said, particularly something I've never seen before, that catches my eye.
Well, you know, and it shows. You know, it really shows when you look at the items that you have on your website, is that, you know, they are so unique and so, for lack of a better term, they're so personalized in the way they come across. And the neat thing about that is, if somebody's looking for a brush, or somebody's looking for a handle or a pen, they can really look at different things and say, wow, this is something that really grabs onto my soul, so to speak. And that's the one thing that I notice most, is that you can tell that there's a passion behind what you do. You know, you had mentioned this earlier off camera, that you had a little story about you know, if you can encapsulate it, about a tree that you made a pen out of, that really turned out into something that you never thought would happen. Can you elaborate on that?
I had a gentleman contact me several years ago from Arizona, and he had a desert ironwood tree that had been growing in his family's yard for as long as he could remember, well before he was born. And at this time, he was in his late 60s. And the tree was in ailing health, and he cut a piece off and asked if I could make a shaving brush for him. And I said, certainly, and he sent the wood on to me. And as I got it onto my lathe and started turning it, a little piece of silver appeared in the wood. I had no idea where this came from, but he and I had established a relationship back and forth, and once it was finished, I sent him some pictures of it and got him on the phone, and we started talking about it. I mentioned that I came across this little piece of silver in the wood as I was turning it. Do you have any idea what that could be? And he related to me that when he was a boy, at 5 or 6 years old, he and his dad used to go out and shoot at that tree. And that is probably a piece of an embedded bullet.
Wow.
From when he was 60 years ago, firing a rifle at that tree. And he went on to say that was something that he had not thought of in years. So it brought back some good memories to him, and it meant a great deal to me to be able to give something like that back to him.
So did you end up actually leaving that bullet in the tree when you did the final finish, or?
Absolutely. I had to sharpen my tools 6 or 7 times, but it was well worth it.
Oh man. And and plus that's something that he can pass down to anyone he wants, and it's just it's like a living a tangible living memory, which is neat. And that's got to be very fulfilling, not only for the end client, but also for you, more than anything else.
I'd like to think that the work I do is of heirloom quality, and can be passed down from one generation to the next. That's sure. The intent.
Well, and the thing is, and obviously in today's market, I wanted to ask you, basically, how long have you been a member of Badger and Blade, and what do you like best about the forum?
I started with Badger and Blade in 2009, so it's been 8 years.
Sure. And
what I like about the forum is there is a sense of community. There's an awful lot of give and take. As with most forums, there are a lot of opinions, so you get a great deal of insight as to what people are thinking, and that's what sends me off looking for what can I do that is a little bit different. I love the opportunity that Badger and Blade provides to be able to present my work, present myself to such a broad group of folks who are seemingly as passionate about wet shaving as I am. So it's been a great opportunity, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. Badger and Blade family.
Well, and the one thing is, and we'd like to remind all the members right now to make sure that you scroll down from the main forum page to our vendor store section and look for Elite Razor, because there's a lot of times that he'll be putting up pictures of some of the brushes and so forth that he has just finished that are available to you as well. So please make sure that you take a look down there. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. Now, with obviously being around since 2009 and seeing what's happening in the traditional shaving marketplace, what's your opinion on the direction of where it's going?
I really like the direction. When I started with Badger and Blade, there were only a handful of individuals who were doing custom work, and several are still around, but there's been a whole new generation of individuals, very talented folks that are making custom brushes, razor handles on CNC equipment, the whole gamut, shaving soaps, pretty much everything related to traditional wet shaving that you could be looking for. So I'm very excited about the expansion of the community and, for lack of a better word, the young blood that's coming in. I love talking to other artisans who are making the same type of products that I'm making, and being able to not only impart some of what I've encountered as making them, but also to learn from them. They're a fresh set of eyes looking
Sure.
at the same environment that I'm looking at, sometimes in a different way. And I think there's a lot of give and take. I've been very pleasantly struck by the back and forth, the family of the vendors in Badger and Blade, in this industry in general, and willingness to share and help one another along. Heaven knows I had enough help when I was getting started, and it's my turn to hopefully give a little bit of that back.
Well, it's funny being in the business world myself. That's the one thing that really is a real eye opener for me, is because we have vendors from multiple disciplines, and many of those vendors doing the same exact thing that you're doing, and that's the one thing that really stands out, is nobody's in this, for lack of a better term, this cutthroat competition to say, hey, my stuff's better than yours. It's really what you said. You hit the nail right on the head. It's a family of vendors that can look at your stuff, and vice versa, you looking at their stuff saying, man, that is beautiful. Great job. And that is what's unique, because then the ultimate beneficiary of all this is the member, because they can feel that they can go buy stuff from everybody, and we hope that the members are doing that, and know that they've got quality across the board. I know that you remember this, but for a few years back, everybody was talking about shave-pocalypse, if you remember that, where, what happens if all the soap makers go away, and what happens if the brush makers go away and the handle makers. And I've always been of the type that I think it's not going to go backwards. I think it's going to go forward. And I think some of your more established companies like Procter & Gamble and, the ones that kind of started it all are going to really have to start rethinking about where the shaving market's going, because in my travels through the forum, I'm starting to notice that it's not just us 50 and 60-year-old guys, going back to a memory of yesteryear. You've got 20-somethings, teens, all starting to get into the traditional shaving format. And to me, that's a win-win for everybody. Would you agree with that?
I think you're absolutely right. I think there will always be a place for the Procter & Gamble's, the stock shaving brushes, which you can get at Walmart for $15.
Sure.
I think what this community addresses are those people who want something that's different. They want something that is personal, something that is one of. And I don't think that segment of the market is ever going to change, nor do I think that entry-level segment of the market is going to change.
Right.
It's exciting that the options and the opportunities for the ancillary products, the soaps, et cetera, are growing. So you can try different things and settle on what you want before you step up to, I want to have a custom brush.
Sure,
I want to have something that nobody else has. And I'm excited to still be a part of that.
Well, it's funny. A little bit later on in the show, in our mail call segment, we actually do a poll every 2 weeks. And this week, obviously in honor of having you on the show, we did a brush poll. And I'm not to give away the results too early, but it was very enlightening to see how many brushes people have and what they prefer and stuff like that. So, so you'll have to take a look at that as well. Well, let me ask you this, Bob. What is next for Elite Razor?
That's a very good question, and I've been pondering. I just recently retired, so I'm doing this more or less as a full-time hobby, if there can be such a thing.
Sure.
I have been fortunate recently to establish some distributor relationships in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And that has worked out very well. I've always had a very good reception in Australia, but the shipping costs internationally are just through the roof.
Sure.
So to be able to establish this relationship where I can ship 30 items down for a little bit more than the cost of shipping one at a time.
Wow.
That certainly disperses that cost across all those items. It makes it a more reasonable economic situation for all of my customers down in Australia.
Sure.
So one of the things that I'm looking at is, can I establish the same type of relationship in Canada, in the UK, in Europe, in Asia?
Sure.
So I can alleviate some of that shipping costs. As I've done for as long as I've been making these, every day I go out and look for what can I do that's different. What other types of materials are out there? So I'm getting a little bit more experience. I'm hoping to mentor some of those guys who are just getting started. And as I said earlier, they're giving as much back to me as I'm giving to them.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I still love what I'm doing.
Right.
I go out to the shop and make brushes and make razor handles every single day. So if anybody has an opportunity and you want to stop by and take a look at those items, I'd sure love to to have you.
Well, the funny thing is, you mentioned, because I know a lot of times if you look at different parts of the forum, there, our members in Europe and our members in, whether they be in Australia, New Zealand, stuff like that, they have limited ways of getting stuff with, like you said, without having to pay through the teeth for shipping. So I think that's huge, especially for our members down in the Aussie area, to be able to have that kind of quality available to them. And now I know that there's more and more stuff starting to pop up in Australia. There's a soap maker down there that has popped up that has not yet shipped to the U.S. So it's funny how those of us in the U.S. want the stuff that's in Europe. Those of us in Europe want the stuff that's in the U.S. and vice versa, and same with Australia. So I think building those type of international distributorships, so to speak, where you can save on that money is going to be a huge boon for everybody that's wanting to get specific type brushes. And that brings up one last question with, in this realm, is that I've noticed in the last couple of days that you've started posting a little bit more of the wood and resin mixture. I don't know what that's called, but it seems like that's a trend that's really starting to grab on, is that mixture of the wood and resin. Is that true?
Well, actually, that's been around for a while. I want to say the first time that I made a brush out of that may have been 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I had those blanks custom made for me, and there are some types of wood, and Buckeye Burl is probably the most prevalent, that is really conducive to that juncture of different materials, and that it's porous enough that it really establishes a good bond with the resin.
Sure.
There have since been a couple of commercial ventures that have really taken that to the next step in their variation of the resins and transparencies and so forth. And it's a beautiful conjunction of two different types of materials, and I think it works very, very well to show both of them off to their best capability.
Well, it's just absolutely beautiful, and like, as far as I know, and I may be wrong here, but I think you're one of the few, and you mentioned earlier in the interview, that works with the stone. Now, is that stone actual, quarried stone, or is it a material that is compressed? How do they get to that true stone material?
Well, it is a material that's commercially known as true stone.
Oh, okay.
And I've been working with it for many years. And the product is a marvelous product, well suited for this environment. And it starts with natural stone that is effectively pulverized and then combined with a 5% bonding resin and then reconstituted back into stone, but it's got that resin component in it, which serves a couple of functional purposes. One, it makes it able to be turned on a lathe, which is huge. Two, it fills all of the natural fissures that you would find in a natural stone, so that when subjected to a hot, wet environment that you're going to find in wet shaving, you don't have those little cracks and voids that you have to be concerned about. And three, probably the most important benefit of that material in this environment is that resin bonding solution component. When it gets wet, it has an almost tacky feel.
Oh, nice.
So it's perfect for a shaving brush or a razor handle.
Sure. Well, they're just beautiful. I mean, we've been showing some photos throughout the interview of the different works that you've done, both in the brush handle and the razors and the pens. And the stone is just stunning. I mean, it's like looking at a fine set of dishes, for the lack of a better term. I mean, it's just really nice. Now, you also set some of the knots. Now, do you have, because our poll question has to do with shaving brushes and knots, do you have a preference on what type of knot that you like when you're working with the different materials?
Well, I do, and I have to admit, I'm not very objective. I like my knots. I have been on this search I was on the search until recently, for a good high quality knot. When I got into the business, the availability of knots was fairly slim.
Sure.
And they were good serviceable knots. And at the end of the day, as fancy as a handle can be, the material part of a shaving brush is the knot.
Exactly.
That's what makes contact with your face. So that deserves the attention. About a year ago, I found a source that would make knots to my specification. I wanted a certain density. I wanted a certain quality of hair. And the first batch they sent me was marvelous. But what really turned the tide for me was the second and the third batch and the fourth batch were all the same comparable quality.
Wow. So the consistency was there, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell the difference from the first to the fifth batch.
Wow.
I've been very, very pleased with the response I've gotten from the wet shaving community. These knots have compared favorably with some of the most expensive and well-respected knots that are out there in the market today. So I'm very happy to be able to offer those. That being said, when I make my brush handles, I don't set the knot until somebody actually purchases a brush. So
nice. So they can choose.
Someone has a synthetic knot that they would prefer to have set in my handle, I'll be happy to do that for them, or set one of my knots. Whatever is going to work best.
Sure. Yeah, because
at the end of the day, it's not my knot, it's not my handle. You know, when they buy it, it's yours.
Sure.
I mean, all the customers should have what they want.
Well, and that's nice that you give that option, because that's one thing that I have noticed. There's just been a huge influx of synthetic knots onto the market. I remember when you had the Muley, and you had a couple others, Omega, but now you've got tuxedo knots, you've got cashmere knots, I know Fine has one called the angel hair knot. I mean, and the synthetic knots are really, really coming along. But what's nice is it gives people that option. I mean, because you figure now you've got mixed brushes, you've got horsehair, you've got boar, you've got badger, you've got silvertip, you've got Manchurian. So you really can literally customize the brush exactly the way you want it. And to me, that just lends back to our earlier conversation of where the traditional shaving community is going, and the marketplace is finally catching up to what people want. And I think that's huge.
Well, I think that's the value of working with a brush maker. And in my case, I always consider it more than just making a brush and selling it to somebody. And I view it in the realm of actually a partnership.
Sure.
I'll build a brush to your specifications to the best of my ability. And we'll put your knot into it. We'll make it into the shape that you want, out of the material you want. So it's the difference between going to Sears and buying a suit off the rack, or going to Brooks Brothers and having one made. Exactly.
It truly allows that custom experience. And what's neat though is if you look in the just talking about brushes, you've got, you can go on the internet and you can buy a stock brush from a well-known maker, or you can go and get a semi-custom where, you've got a choice of handle, but the brushes are already set. And then you can go truly to the 100% custom where you can say, okay, I want this, and this. And as you said, you make it to your, to their specs, which I think just opens up, it just opens up this acquisition disorder, hugely. And what I tell people to do is I just said, just make sure when you buy your house and you set your bathroom up for your shave den, make sure that you can expand it, because you will need to, once you get into this, because, having one or two brushes really doesn't happen anymore. I mean, you've got, those people that have that, great. But once you get involved in the collecting side of things, the next thing you know, you have your spouse coming in saying, okay, how many shave brushes can you shave with in one day? Well, that's not the point. I had to fill this wall with something. At least that's the excuse that I use anyways. Bob, this has been an absolutely fantastic interview. We certainly appreciate you taking time. Is there any final thoughts that you have for the members of Badger and Blade?
It's just that I want to thank everybody for the support that you've given me over the years. This is a labor of love for me, and if I could do it for free, I would. But my accountant, who also happens to be my wife, says that's not going to happen. So thank you all for your support, and I'll keep on making brushes as long as you guys keep enjoying them.
Well, once again, Bob, we thank you so much for spending your Veterans Day and with us. That means a lot to me as a former vet, and just learning about how you work the materials that you have. And once again, we just want to thank you for spending time with us.
Well, thank you, Dave. I really appreciate it.
Great. Good night. Since 2009, Bull Goose Shaving Supplies has been providing the best in shaving products to the discerning traditional shaver, carrying shave soaps, creams, aftershaves, fragrances, razors, and accessories from many of the top manufacturers, as well as unique and artisan shave products from around the world. Bull Goose Shaving Supplies also carries its very own product of shave soaps, custom brushes, and razors under the Asylum Shaveworks brand, including the one-of-a-kind Asylum RX single-edge razor, the Asylum Evolution, an homage to the 1930s Darwin, and coming soon to Bull Goose, the Paradigm Titanium double-edge razor. Bull Goose Shaving Supplies is your one-stop shop for bath and shower, as well as all personal grooming accessories. Looking for that special gift or storage solution? We have that too. With lightning-quick order fulfillment, wonderful customer service, and an easy-to-navigate website, you can get everything you need at Bull Goose Shaving Supplies. www.bullgooseshaving.com. That's www.bullgooseshaving.com. Welcome back to B&B Radio, everybody. We certainly want to thank once again Bob Quinn from Elite Razors for spending some time with us. We hope that you enjoyed that interview, and please don't forget to check out his vendor store right here at badgerandblade.com. And as a reminder, don't forget our radio show broadcasts every 2 weeks in our video library forum and also across multiple formats, including our YouTube page, as well as for those of you that enjoy podcasts, we have multiple podcast feeds depending on the type of system that you had. So please check that out right here at www.badgerandblade.com. Now, as we move on to our mail call segment, we had a poll question, and the new poll question for this week was shave brushes. Now, was that Badger, Bohr, Horse, or synthetic? How many do you have, and tell us what you like. Now, the first portion of it was how many brushes, and it was pretty far and away that 25 votes, or 58.1%, had between 1 and 10 brushes. Between 10 and 20 brushes was 5 votes at 11.6%. Between 20 and 40 brushes was also 11 votes at 25.6%. Nobody had between 40 and 50, but then all of a sudden, between over 50, we had 2 folks at 4.7% that had that. Now, as far as what not people preferred, I was really surprised to see this. Badger and synthetic tied at 11 votes each, or 25.6%. Bohr came in at 8 votes at 18.6%, and Bohr, Badger, Horse, or synthetic also came in at 8 votes. And then finally, we had 3 votes that said, I love them all, and my ultimate fantasy is to sleep on a mattress of shave brushes. So there you have it, folks. It looks like most people have between 1 and 10 brushes, and Badger and synthetic seem to be the most popular knots out there for those people that took part. We'd like to thank everybody for taking part in our poll. Now, we do have some comments from our mail call segment from Rich. Aesthetics are pretty important, but not the end-all be-all. It's better to have a homely brush that performs excellently rather than a trophy brush that's unusable. Cost is not a barometer for performance. Case in point, the Sterling Bohr brush is inexpensive, looks and performance all in one good package. Well, thank you, Rich. And from Al, aesthetics are largely irrelevant to me. I use a shaving brush as an integral and important part of my shave prep. Being pretty neither makes the brush work better nor it makes up for any deficiency in function. I felt lucky with my brush, having bought one that worked exactly as I wanted it to, firm enough to work with lather on a hard soap, but soft enough as to not be scratchy on the face. It was a cheap Bohr brush from Men U, which came with a brush stand and shaving cream dispenser. It's not the prettiest brush in the world. Neither the knot nor the black plastic handle would win any beauty pageants, but it does the job, and I'm happy with it. Well, that's fantastic, Al, and that's the beauty of our hobby here, is that you find what you like, and if you find what you like, you just keep using it. And from Bruce, performance and function are paramount. The whole point is to make lather. I'll take a homely brush that lathers well over a pretty brush that doesn't. If it's a pretty brush and lathers well, that's perfect. A museum for brushes? I'd rather have a lather museum, though the exhibits would be constantly changing, I suppose. Thanks a lot, Bruce. We appreciate that. And from Chad, our own shave soap forum, I have 32 brushes. Geez, don't tell my wife. Well, sorry, Chad. This just went out to everybody in the world. I think she knows now. My favorite brushes to look at are definitely the ones that are artisan and handmade. They're just beautiful. But I also really enjoy the budget-friendly synthetics. The knots nowadays are very, very nice. From Craig, Clyde 72, I voted that I prefer Badger. but my current brush is a mix of 50% synthetic, 40% Badger, and 10% Bohr. I voted Badger because if I was getting a new high-end brush from a maker that I didn't have one already, I would go for a high-end Badger knot. That being said, I can't knock any of my synthetics, and if I was to go for a second brush from a maker, I would be hard-pressed not to go with a Tuxedo or highly rated synthetic knot. If I had a choice, and of course there's nothing wrong with a good Bohr either. One thing I like about synthetics, and the reason why I think everyone should have at least one, is you don't have to soak them, just wet and go. I think that we all like the looks of a fancy and aesthetically pleasing brush, but when it comes right down to it, the performance is the main thing. Price doesn't necessarily mean performance either. The Sterling Finest Badger is a great feeling and performing knot. I think it's every bit as good as my Simpson Commodore X3 in best that costs 2 to 3 times the price. All of my synthetics perform well too, and I mean really, there's a lot of $8 to $20 synthetic brushes that are out there that can get great reviews. Well, thanks, Craig. We certainly appreciate that. And from Ian, to me, a brush is a brush. I won't go out and buy an expensive brush. Yes, I have a Wolf Whiskers and a Rubber Set 400. My point is you can spend hundreds of pounds or dollars on a brush when all the knots come from China and fitted into a branded or unbranded. I use an unbranded Mohr. They do the job well. My main 3 are Badger, Bohr, then Horse. I do have one synthetic, but I don't like it. My main soaps are hard, and I have a few creams. Yes, I would love to see my shave den full of cheap, fancy, usable brushes. Well, thank you, Ian. We appreciate that. And from Sam, Sam is wondering who will figure out the poll question answer from him. I'll give you a hint, everybody. He likes Bohr brushes. There you have it. From Phil, my favorite brush is the Semogue Owners Club Bohr. I have 1 in cherry wood and 3 more in custom Rudy Vey handles. I like Badger brushes too, and I tend to use my Bohrs and Badgers about equally. Performance comes first, but I must confess that I have a weakness for a very nice custom handle. From Joe, I have 15 brushes in rotation and about 25 that need restoration and reknots. Just can't find the time to do it. I like all types, but a well broken in Bohr and synthetics are probably tops for me. My least favorite is a 30mm goat hair kabuki I experimented with. It was like lathering with a fistful of overcooked angel hair pasta. Well, there's a hint, folks. Do not go for goat, obviously. And from Dawn, I currently have 5 brushes. As much as I love the artwork that is a custom handle, it doesn't perform. It doesn't have a place in my den. From Chris, I own 2 brushes, both Bohr. I'm not a fan of synthetics, which my wife uses because she saves in the shower. I tried a cheap, pitiful Badger brush, so I really don't have a valid opinion on how Badger works. Well, Chris, I would say go out and get one and see what you think. From MJ Clark, I'm totally converted to synthetics. They are all top performers, so aesthetics becomes a consideration. I would rather have a great knot with a pretty handle. From Sean, synthetic, EJ, Muley especially. Very simple, very, very soon. Sean likes synthetics, period. And that's Castronomer for those that don't know. And from Gaggy, I like quality and a robust brush. So it's a little of both. I would like to visit a brush museum, not to own one. I like to use all the stuff that I have, and now I prefer synthetic. But before, I was a Bohr guy. So you can see, folks, that your tastes can change over the time that you're in this wonderful hobby. From TJ, I currently own 5 brushes, a Semogue Bohr, an Omega Bohr, an Omega Synthetic, a Parker Pure Badger, and a Gentleman John Best Badger. I like the 2 Bohrs best, and equally then the synthetic. Then the Parker Pure Badger, and really don't like the Best Badger at all. Well, the thing is also, TJ, there is, when you say Best Badger, there can be a wide-ranging difference because a Best Badger from TGN may feel a little bit different than from Envy, or a little bit different than from a Best Badger from Simpson. And their grading on what they consider a Best Badger is neat. I suggest everybody go over to the wiki page and look under the brush section to look at how the knots are configured and stuff like that. It's a really good wealth of education as well. And from Dave in Vancouver, I'm sitting on 87 brushes that are all Badger. I think we know what he likes. I've tried Bohr, Horse, and synthetics, and none feel as good as a good Badger brush. Well, there is no doubt whatsoever that we know where his vote was in the number of brushes. Thank you, Dave. We certainly appreciate it. And from EM Wolf, I've got 20 brushes, mostly Badger and synthetic. I do have several Bohr and 1 Horse brush. I like how the Badger retains the heat and how it feels on my face. The synthetic brushes are almost as good as Badger these days. Well, folks, thank you so much for the mail call segment. These were very, very informative, and we certainly thank you for sharing. And now, a little bit of a special section. Well, I have 2 tonight. I've been being bugged to have some of our bloopers, and yes, we do have bloopers. So this first blooper came out. Some of them I will have to edit because they have colorful adjectives in them, but these ones don't. So take a listen to this, and then we'll also be back after a message from Captain's Choice Products. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be on this big blue asteroid zooming around the I'll get it right. Cosmos. Say it, Cosmos. Cosmos. Or pick a different word, you bonehead.
Aye, mateys. Ha ha ha. Captain Nobeard here. You know, managing a pirate ship can be stressful, and it can be hard to find time for myself, except for my daily morning shave. To give myself that wonderful shave experience, I use Captain's Choice products. The quality of the soaps, creams, and aftershaves and balms are top-notch for my daily parlay with my face. Plus, they have wonderful accessories including lather bowls, one-of-a-kind soap lockers, and brushes. My favorite is the cat o' nine tails. Oh, what a burn. But all the products are treasures. So nice are my morning shaves
that it transforms me into a true gentleman for a time before having to become a pirate again.
So, if you are looking for the best in shave products, look no further. Anchor up and get your treasure at captainschoicestore.com. Yo ho, it's Captain's Choice for me.
Captain's Choice Products, www.captainschoicestore.com. Before we get started on our news and events section, we'd like to thank Scott, as always, from Captain's Choice Product for supporting Badger and Blade and being part of our vendor commercial program. And now the news and events. In our soap section, our November theme is going strong. Member spotlights are also up every week, so please sign up if you are interested in being spotlighted as a member in the soap forum thread. In the dark room, the November contest is still going on. Autumn Colors is the theme, and that will be up and open for entries until the 20th. It must be a recent picture, and please get involved in the contest. And a very belated congratulations to Ninja Shaver. He was the October theme darkroom winner around the neighborhood, so please check out that thread over in the darkroom. In the aftershave section, Bruce ran a poll in the forum, and the results were: what was the preference for vintage Old Spice, the Shulton version, or the new? And the old version, of course, won out by 48.5% in 16 votes. The new brand of Old Spice got 5 votes at 15.2%. 9 votes, or 27%, liked both. 2 votes liked neither. And 3 votes, or 9.1%, said there's a difference. So check out the Old Spice thread and check out the aftershave forum for all things smelling good and post-shave goodness. Also, please join us in welcoming our brand new vendors to Badger and Blade. These are supporting vendors, so you can check out their stores in the vendor section on B&B. And that is Battle Brothers, and returning is Damon and Old Town Shaving. Yes, you MDC or Martin DeCandre fans are going to like that. So, gentlemen, welcome to Badger and Blade and our vendor program. Now, in the Sue Mohr Memorial Auction, we had over 200 different lots, and we're very happy and very proud to say that we did over $16,024.14. So we want to thank all the members of Badger and Blade that took part in either bidding, winning, and or giving for this year's Sue Mohr Memorial Auction. And I just want to put a challenge out there for next year. Let's see if we can reach $20,000 for next year. Now, we're also going to show you a certificate of appreciation that we did receive from the National Breast Cancer Foundation. So once again, thank you all for honoring the Sue Mohr Memorial Auction and Sue's memory here on BadgerandBlade.com. And finally, from the warped mind of Moderator Dangerous Don, my wife gave me an ultimatum last night. I either have to wear socks to go to bed or get a pedicure. What prompted this, you ask? My heel calluses tore a hole in our 1,000 sheet count Egyptian cotton sheets. So he said he's going to start wearing socks to bed instead. And this is a true story. So, just so everybody knows, free anti-vomit medicine will be available in the B&B Infirmary after the show. And also, if anyone wants to pitch in and buy Don a petty egg for his calloused heels for Christmas, please just PM me and we can make that happen. And finally, in our news and events section, please look at the ticker underneath. That will have different news stories and different threads that you might be interested in the various forums here on Badger and Blade. Now, finally, we're going to have the final blooper that you asked for, and here it is. And right after that, we'll be back to end up the show. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be on this big blue asteroid zooming around the content. Oh, you suck. Well, we have an entire library of bloopers. As many of you may not know, it takes about 20 or 30 hours to put together a 30 to 45-minute show, including the production and the rendering. So we do appreciate it each and every time you guys comment on our shows and listening to it. But there are quite a few hours of bloopers that I'll need to clean up, but we're going to plan on having a blooper show down the road just a little bit. Well, that ends this episode of Badger and Blade Radio. First and foremost, since we will not be on over the Thanksgiving holiday, our next show will be on the 27th. We'd like to wish you and your families a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. We want to thank you once again. This is year number 2. We're almost at 45 episodes, and we want to sincerely thank you for your listenership and your support. And we just broke the 400 subscribers on YouTube, and we have quite a number of podcast listeners as well. So once again, we certainly want to thank you for that. Our next goal is to shoot for 1,000 as we go through the next year. We've got a lot of great things planned for next year that are going to be exciting as well. We'd like to remind the new members to go to the Newbie Check-In and Hall of Fame and the Shave Clinic to introduce yourself and be welcome to Badger and Blade. And if you've been around a little while or you're brand new and you'd like to become a contributor, just click on the ellipsis button that says contributor on the main forum page, and you can find out how you can contribute to help offset some of the costs here at www.badgerandblade.com. As always, we'd like to thank Bob Quinn from Elite Razor by Bob Quinn for spending time with him. And please don't forget once again to visit him in his vendor forum where you'll see some of the fine work that Bob does here and supporting B&B. We'd like to once again thank all of our vendors for taking part in our commercial vendor program. Please support our vendors. They support B&B and they support you, so please support them in return if you would. As always, we'd like to thank the mods and the stewards for all the hard work they do each and every day for Badger and Blade. We'd like to thank the admins and the owners for bringing this wonderful site and how easy it is to navigate, and it is truly an oasis here on the internet. And we'd also like to remind everybody that if you do not listen via video, whether it be in our video library forum or it be on our YouTube page, you can listen via podcast. Just go to your favorite podcast provider and you'll search for Badger and Blade, and you should be able to find it right there. And that's it for this show. We'd like to thank you, the member, especially. Without you, we would not be here, and we are Badger and Blade, and you are the lifeblood of BadgerandBlade.com. I've been your host, Skyside Dave, and join us for the next episode of Badger and Blade Radio. And once again, thanks for listening.